Hello, everyone. It's Friday. It's Chat with Mac. We're glad to have you. For those of you that are our loyal fans, if you will, we're so happy that you're joining us. And for those of you that are brand new to what we do, welcome, welcome, welcome. Nadine, how's it going, sir?
Oh, going pretty good.
Yeah.
How are you?
It's it was a just okay week. It wasn't. It hasn't been as what's the word I'm looking for? Exciting in that some of the movement I've been seeing, but it'll pick back up. I think people. I'm hoping people aren't already in holiday mode because that's just like, people might be exhausted and things of that nature. But yeah, no, it'll pick back up. It's just
Yeah,
one of
it
those
will.
things.
It will. So Mac, I wanted to take this opportunity to talk about one of the questions that's been coming up this whole week has been
Yeah.
coming up a few times, and the question is, it's worded differently, but it's like, why are IT companies slash MSPs increasing their prices, right? So here's the thing. So the average has gone to about $200
Yep.
per month per machine, and that is pretty much in line with just inflation. So it's not like it's an extraordinarily higher fee that the MSPs are charging. It's pre-pandemic to now, taking into account inflation, there is really no change. However, there is a huge change for MSPs as far as their tool set is concerned. So MSP costs have risen dramatically. And the main focus of this rise has been coming from, the main brunt of it is coming from security. So a lot of MSPs in the old days, they didn't have a security stack built up. And now these MSPs have to add some kind of security tools to their stack.
Absolutely.
And all that comes at a cost. And that's a big cost, because some of these security tool sets are not like low on the cost scale. They're a high value, but also they're a high cost tool set. So it's just become a math issue, right? It's like the MSPs are doing a lot more than what they used to. They're doing horizontal, vertical tests, vulnerability assessments, penetration testing, security audits. Just all kinds of stuff. They're implementing policy more stringently. So, for example, in the past, there was a lot of customers who did not want complex passwords, who did not want password explorations, who did not want multi-factor authentication. Well, all of a sudden, you have to have these things in place. I mean, even so much so that actually a recent case that customers or companies are getting denied cyber insurance because they have certain entries in their name servers that point to machines that are not their machines anymore. This is old data, machines that have some open ports. So think about this. The insurance companies now have a branch where they're actively checking your IP addresses tied to your domain to see if you have any vulnerable ports open. And if you do, they're denying you coverage. Never heard of that before.
Well, Nadine, hold on now, because to some extent, you told people that I'm almost sure, maybe beginning of the year when we were actually talking about cybersecurity insurance, that you pointed to a possibility that this could happen. And maybe I'm off, but I almost feel like you told people like, "Hey, coming down the pipe, something like this will happen."
So I was just, that was just an estimate on my side, just the way things were going. So I was just estimating, but I I didn't anticipate that it would happen so quick.
Yep.
I mean, just a few months ago, it wasn't even on their radar. And a few months later, now they already have things in place to check this.
Yep.
And they're actively denying coverage to companies who have vulnerable ports open on machines that their name servers are pointing to. Now, some of these are not even their machines. This is just old machines that they just never removed the entries, the IP entries on their name servers. But the thing is, the fact is that the insurance companies are actually going out and checking it before they bind the policy. In the past, it used to be after the fact. Like they say, okay, you're going to do this, 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 and this. They would just bind the policy. And then if a breach occurs, then they do the forensic analysis and say, oh, by the way, Mr. Customer, you did not do this that you were supposed to. So we're not going to give you 100% of the coverage. But now they're actually doing it ahead of time and saying, oh, we're not even going to touch you guys because you guys are just not secure
at all.
That's different. That's amazing. So guys, everybody out there who's watching this, it's not a good to have anymore. It's not a luxury anymore. It is a necessity. You need to have assessments. You need to do internal and external vulnerability tests. And if you find any machines or ports open, you got to close them. This was a few months ago. I was talking to a new prospect, and I told him how to onboard a customer into our cloud-based system, we had to have the customer VPN in first. And this prospect said that, okay, well, our existing provider does not want us to VPN in. They just let us log in through a website and it works fine. It's easy. Well, while we were discussing this, and our sales cycle is pretty long, during the discussions, the question came up when this print nightmare hit, and this customer's provider shut down all print services. So now the customer's really ticked off. I mean, they couldn't print, and this was an accounting firm, so not being able to print, it's bad. So they reached out to me and says, well, our current providers just disabled all our print services. They're saying email yourself stuff and then print it out. And it's like, that's not going to work. And it's like, do you guys have some fix for this? And we were like, yeah, we've always had a fix for this. We require you to VPN in first. We're not going to open up the infrastructure to just the general public through a website. We would require you to VPN in, and then we'll give you access. And because our setup is set up a certain way, Print Nightmare did not hit our cloud infrastructure. So our customers could print just like normal when this other provider, and this was a provider, I think based out of California or someplace anyway. So this provider was actually shutting down print services for all their customers because the way their infrastructure was set up, and they couldn't just retool everything and just on the fly redo their infrastructure. I mean, it's a big undertaking. That's a situation where this provider actually painted themselves in a corner, and now they didn't have a way out.
That's all it is.
So the thing is, think ahead of time, take all the precautions that you can before you actually build out the infrastructure. It's very easy to just put some stuff together and make it work, but it's a totally different thing to understand the repercussions of what you're doing in the future. And that's where somebody with experience and expertise comes into play. Somebody who's been doing this for years and years, they already know the ins and outs of the road that you're trying to take, where it leads. They already know where it leads, and they can direct you in a better direction, where you will not run into a situation where you can't print anymore. But yeah, I mean, that happened. I mean, so this is like, this week has been a little crazy from a security perspective, and this is the first time. So it's the week of October the 8th. So the week of October the 8th is when we saw the first indications of insurance companies actually checking vulnerabilities before they bind insurance. This is the first time it's happened. Yep, 2021, guys. So everybody out there, just a heads up, if you have insurance, check back with your providers, make sure you are still covered. If you're trying to bind insurance, check all the boxes before you go to your insurance provider to look for cyber coverage, and do an audit, do an assessment. It's a good thing to do anyway.
I was going to ask that. Can't we help them with an audit or a primary assessment before they even go that route? I mean, I know we've done it in the past for quite a few companies where we would just do an audit and say, hey, ladies and gentlemen, it's amazing when Nadeem does these audits for people, and we're talking to actual IT managers, and they're like, well, hell, I didn't know we have this many, I mean, it's amazing just the findings that Nadeem goes over. And they're just like, well, hell, I didn't know that, So just a heads up, we do it, but yeah.
It's it's a complex machinery. IT is a complex machinery. Components rely on other components, and if you don't understand it thoroughly, it's very easy to miss certain components, and that's where the assessment comes into play. And I've seen CIOs where we do one of our assessments, and then we come back with a report to a CIO, and the CIO's eyes open up, and they were like, sometimes they say, well, I thought that was taken care of. And then sometimes it's like, oh, I didn't know that option was there, or why is that there? I thought we got rid of that a long time ago. So the thing is, over time, and assessments are a good thing. That's why we do the assessments anyway for our fixed cost customers, because it's a check for ourselves. So when we do the assessment, we make sure that we are checking ourselves and making sure that what we want to do, we actually put in place. So we're not just saying that we're going to do something and not do it. The assessment actually comes back and confirms that, and that's what it's like a counter check to a check, right? So we're just counter checking it, making sure what we said we were going to do got done, put into place, and it didn't get reverted back. Because it happens where an engineer goes on site, they implement something, and then a week later a support request comes in, and another engineer goes in and they make an accommodation for a certain program or app or whatever, or process, undoing what the engineer did previously, what the other engineer did previously. It happens. And that's where the assessment catches those kind of things, so that when things are not right, we can catch them, and then we can do some analysis. If something was done, why did it get undone? There has to be a reason. And of course, once you do the assessments end up going to the C-level suite, and then the C-level has to kind of make sure it matches up with their policy. And so it's a whole big thing, especially if you have anything to do with the financial industry. There are a lot more stringent policies and enforcement coming down from the government. It's a matter of time. It's gonna happen.
It is.
There's a lot of small businesses out there that are just running very loose, and these requirements are going to be really, they're going to be pushed down real hard, and there is no way around that.
I mean, and again, Nadeem has been preaching this since the beginning of the year, that you were going to see. I mean, he first started with you're going to see more attacks, and then that happened, and it's been all these simultaneous things that he kind of saw in the crystal ball. And now, like you're saying, I think I was just reading something along the lines as far as government. And I know some people are going to say, oh, we don't want the government in this and blah, blah, blah. But, for what it's worth, with the amount of attacks that have happened, not only with, I mean, we hear the big business. We don't hear about the small to medium-sized business space that, have been hit. And I mean, I was reading something this week about the attacks. Attacks have been really plaguing the SMB space, and now I think you're starting to see some businesses like, well, what's the government? What kind of insurances do we have now? Because we don't know how to navigate through this, which is unfortunate. But here we are.
And the thing is, I always say this. The thing is that what comes down from the government should be the bare minimum.
Yeah.
You should already be way ahead of that.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think we'll call it. I just wanted to make this short video about what's happening, this change from insurance providers. Just get the word out, and then why MSPs are increasing their prices across the board. So it's because the actual tool set is changing. There's a lot more security built into the tool set now. So the prices are going to go up. In the near future, and mark my words, it's not going to be unheard of $250 per machine.
It won't be.
It's only a matter of, I think
it's only a matter of time. By the end
of the year, we'll be at $250 per machine. It's going to happen because there's so many additional things that you have to do, not to mention the time that it takes to implement a lot of these things. Yeah. So it's going to happen.
You know what, Nadeem? I think what we should do, and we'll wrap it up at some point. I don't know if this will be a good idea. I think Nadeem should do a lunch and learns for CEOs to talk a little bit more in details about this. I'm not saying we'll do it, but I think it'll be good that, where Nadeem can really be more one-on-one with CEOs or, some owners and say, hey, this is what we're seeing, and ask questions in person, providing, we navigate. I don't know, but I think
I like that. I mean, I think that'll be fun, so it's not going to be tech related. We won't talk tech. We will just talk business. And maybe Mac, maybe you can do this. Maybe make some calls. Find out if there's interest from C-level suite in something like this, and maybe we'll set something up. Just a quick lunch and learn. Maybe I don't know, 20, 30 minutes, and we'll have a good time, and we'll get some of the questions answered.
Yeah, I'll look into that. I think I'll make some calls and see what kind of interest we have. I think it'll be great to have that one-on-one interaction where people can ask these questions. Yeah, we'll look at that. Absolutely.
Awesome. Great. Awesome. Well, good job, Mac, and appreciate it. And we'll see everybody next week.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
Have a good one, and be safe out there.